Hi guys, I'm Kyla Chowie. I chose to do Big Cedar for my strategic analysis. Did my summer internship with them last summer there and just thought it'd be fitting. The methodology research was conducted by online research along with just personal experience while working at Big Cedar. So the history of Big Cedar is in 1920, Jude Simmons and Harry Warman bought 300 acres and named it Big Cedar Hollow, and it was tucked away by the White River. In 1947, Dan Norris bought it and added a lodge and a swimming pool and a stable. In 1958, the White River was dammed to form the Table Rock Lake. And in 1987, Johnny Morris purchased Big Cedar, which is now 4,600 acres, and it is named the #1 resort in the Midwest according to Travel and Leisure. So their mission statement is to be the wilderness resort of choice for guests who expect genuine hospitality, outstanding service, relaxing experience surrounded by nature and rustic elegance. Next, I'm going to talk to you about the pestle analysis. So starting with political, there are a high rate of visa employees, so they would need to figure out the labor laws with that and the tax issues, which can impact the business. Economic, if the economy is low, people will not be able to have as much disposable income to spend on vacations, but when the economy is high, obviously people will be able to spend their money on vacations, and that could cause Big Cedar to be at 100% occupancy, which is good. And sociological, Johnny Morris has been around in the community for a very, very long time, and his parents as well, and so he has a strong bond with the Ozarks. He always does fishing tournaments and golf tournaments down at Top of the Rock or Big Cedar, and he is always involved in some way or with sponsoring events. Technologically, they have top-of-the-line technology and top-of-the-line security on property. Property is always surveying the land and all the properties that are at the resort, and they have security cameras everywhere. For legal, they have contracts and waivers the guests have to sign if they are wanting to rent a boat or a jet ski or ride a go-kart. They all need to be signed, and they're all taken very, very seriously. And environmental, the weather could impact Big Cedar. They have, the Table Rock Lake is dammed and it is controlled by the dam, like the water level, but they do have streams and ponds and streams that cars drive over. So if weather were to get bad or flooding were to happen, then they would need a way to take care of that. They do recycle, and they are very environmentally friendly when it comes to the lake, and no polluting and no littering. Next, I'm going to talk about the Porter's 5 Forces. So for competition, there are a couple competitors, Rock Lane Resort and Chateau on the Lake. Rock Lane Resort is probably a little bit more close to Big Cedar. It has a bar, a tiki bar. They have different restaurants, condos, and pools. They're very much more cheap than Big Cedar, by almost over $100 cheap. And so if people do want to spend less money while they're traveling at the lake, then they have plenty of other sources they can go to instead of Big Cedar. But I don't see that impacting Big Cedar at all. Their supplier, Johnny Morris has control over their supplier, being that Bass Pro is a huge company, so he really has the higher power on that, and who he wants to hire for the supplier. And the buyer power is high as well, being that the people who choose to stay, if people choose not to stay at Big Cedar, they have a bunch of cheaper options they can go with. If they're there just for a weekend and don't want to stay at a luxury resort, then they have several different options. And substitutes, I don't think anyone would be able to take Big Cedar's place unless a recession happens and Big Cedar just crashes, which I don't see that happening at all. And newcomers, I think it would be hard for a newcomer to come in and take Big Cedar's spot. They would have a lot to live up to with the hype of Big Cedar. And the SWOT analysis. So strengths are it's one of the only upscale resorts on Table Rock Lake. It is a private company owned by Johnny Morris, who owns Bass Pro, Cabela's, Big Cypress Lodge, and Wonders of Wildlife. He has a huge management staff and a huge management department on property at Big Cedar. The reputation at Big Cedar is very high. Everyone is expected to do their best, and the service is expected to be very high there. They also have a very strong advertising and marketing team. They do social media updates, billboards along the highways, commercials, and they get big name stars out to do tournaments. Like they just had the Legends of Golf tournament, and Justin Timberlake was there, and Kid Rock, and Mark Wahlberg. And they have a really strong loyalty program. Not program, but loyalty as in guests love staying there and they will always come back. For weaknesses, it's a high cost for lodging, and food and beverage isn't very cheap there. They have some cheaper options at like the casual bars, but mainly it's all upper class and high class restaurants and dining. They hire interns and people that come from overseas to work there, and they don't have to pay them as much to work. And another weakness is that they have a huge staff of over 1,000 people, so there's no way for a guest to feel like really connected with the staff like a smaller resort would feel, or a smaller just mom and pop hotel. The staff isn't going to know every single guest's names that's staying up on property. So that can cause a little weakness if people are wanting to feel at home or connected with the staff. Some opportunities that Big Cedar has is well connected with the community. As previously said, they're constantly involved with organizations around the community and getting people down and getting people all together around Table Rock Lake. They have a strong financial capability. Since it is a private company, all of their financial reports are not online, or I wasn't able to access any of them. But and their experience and quality has a strong opportunity. Everyone goes down there expecting to have an amazing experience, and the quality of food should be good, and just the whole experience should be really amazing and want people to come back. And that they can go forward with that even more. And the position of Big Cedar is also an opportunity. It's at the lake and in the Branson area, and Branson's such a tourist town that it can attract people wanting to travel around Branson or just stay at the lake. So many different types of people can stay there. And some threats are low-cost competitors, meaning that they have plenty of resorts on Table Rock Lake that are very cheap compared to Big Cedar. So people may choose that over Big Cedar. And timeshares are on the rise, and people are doing more timeshares now. Big Cedar does have a timeshare program with Blue Green, but there are other places on Table Rock Lake that do have timeshares as well. And flooding and natural disasters could also be a threat. So I'm going to talk to you about my recommendations. I would recommend that they increase their pay for lower level employees because the minimum wage is going to be increasing, so they would need to keep up with that. Become more energy efficient throughout the property. they don't have any like solar panels or stuff like that to make it more energy efficient, and it's a massive property, so they should do that to help in the environment. Update their systems so they're not causing as many issues. When I was working at Long Creek, they had an old system and it would constantly like delete people's reservations, so it was causing a lot of issues whenever people would come in to check out the boats. So they should probably update that and train their employees harder and longer when working there. There were several incidents that happened that could have been avoided if proper proper safety precautions were taken and training, and so we don't want that to happen, and it could have been avoided. So definitely proper training for safety issues. And so my learning for this project, time management was definitely something that I learned, and I learned a lot more about Big Cedar than I thought I knew. I grew up at down here, and I was always going to Big Cedar, and I grew up on Table Rock Lake, so I've been around the area, and I learned a lot more than I thought I would about Big Cedar. I also learned more about the SWOT and pestle analysis, so it's something I'm going to take with me whenever I graduate and go to Hotel Phillips. And yep, thank you.